everybody to Wilson Library for the Black Label Movement exhibit, I Hand Gesture. I am Deborah Alton, and I've been working closely with Emily Plausch-Flink and Carl Flink on this project, bringing it here to the library. And so we're going to start with, I think, some movement before we do any question and answer, and I want to bring this to Carl.
Hello, everyone. I'd love you all to come into the space a little more, and rather than starting our event with lots of words, I'm going to have you face this way, if you can. Come on all the way into the space here. I thought I would start with the place that I start, which is movement. And so we will go right there.
Wonderful. Thank you, guys.
Or I'll introduce them. This is Chang Xiong, who is a longtime member of BLM, and Jessica Teska, who is also our most senior member. She's been with Black Label Movement since 2010. Then we have three of our most recent additions to the company, Joey Weaver and, Georgia Sylvester and Barrett Algren. So thank you all. So what you just saw is a part of our Minnesota premiere at our season at the Ritz called I Am a Rope Bringing This Down. And it is a specific response to the artwork of Swan. And the reason why we did this is because George Swan, right over there, Anne's son, reached out to me with the idea of doing a commission responding to his mother's work, which is featured here in these three pieces in specific. And one of the reasons why we have the one with the 6 people hanging there is that work really drew me in immediately. And so literally what you just saw is our effort to animate that, which is interesting for me because not very often do I kind of work from a literal space of how do I respond to this specific object or artwork. But we wanted to think, how does that group of 6 people, there's also other dolls, one with 5, how would that group of people work and move together? So if you guys want to come out again and just face the audience here, one of the things that occurred to us was just this idea that, like looking at a sand painting, the idea of what if parts of your body were starting to cave in. So not the whole body caving in, but just this part sliding down into someone. And that this group of people now doesn't have the same type of social distance in terms of how they keep physical space, but now they're collapsing into each other. And then they come up. And then we discovered the idea of spiders crawling across each other's bodies. So that's an evolution past the doll, because certainly you're not seeing any arms. So that was something that came out of this improvisational space of them working with that form. Thank you all. Moving over here, we have this wonderful tapestry by visual artist Lara Hanson, who's right here. Lara's actually worked with BLM now since 2007, so right before REC, right? So, yeah, so this particular tapestry comes from my work, Field Songs. And I'd be interested, Lara, if you don't mind talking a little bit about it. I wish I could hand you a mic, but if you want to speak a little bit about what's going on in this one, or where you came to it, how you came to it.
The way that I worked, I always attended the rehearsals, many of the rehearsals for Field Songs. This piece actually happened towards the end when they were actually bringing the sod. If anybody has seen the piece, they actually brought sod into the theater and onto the stage, and the dancers danced on the sod. And so while they were rehearsing, so it was just before performance, I had these scrolls of paper, and the way that I work is very in the moment, spontaneous, watching the movement, letting my body respond to the movement. So it's a recording not only of the dancer's movement, but also of my movement and how my body and my mind experiences what I see and what I feel. But a little while into my drawing, I was very inspired by the sod, and I wanted to I just grabbed actually some dirt and started kind of using some of the dirt to draw with my hands, and so started dancing a little bit more with my hands and with the dirt. And then I even invited some of the dancers, who were all by this time nice and sweaty, to come in and dance on the paper. And Eddie, if anybody knows Eddie, one of the dancers in that piece, came and rolled on the paper. So the dancers actually got to interact with the drawing too. So that's why I call it dirt, and it has a little bit dirtier look to it, I guess. But I felt like it kind of, brought out, what this piece was at least performed on. And just the smell of the dirt and the playfulness of dancing, and also kind of the danger of dancing on the sod as well, the slippery grass. But it was fun to watch them and to experience it in my body as well. So, yeah.
Great, thank you, Lara. So, we have a season right now at the Ritz Theater in Northeast Minneapolis, and it is in particular a celebration of the spirit of collaboration that exists in Black Label Movement's process and also its history. Not only do, in the collaborations we've had with Lara, there's a piece called Merge that's on this program that has more tapestries that she's created that are used as part of the set for that performance. But we all, the opportunity to work with George was so exciting because I actually consider the relationship with Anne's work a collaboration, and that came from the time spent with George talking about his mother, discovering who she was, and getting a little more of a sense of kind of what her spirit and maybe intentions behind the work. So a good example of how I think it's important to have that kind of feedback loop is when I looked at these dolls the first time, I find them to have kind of a darkness to them. They have a little bit of a sense of this collapse, maybe people who have lived the harder parts of life and have felt a little of the decay that we go through as we age. But George, after he saw one of our initial rehearsals, said, my mom always had a sense of humor. And so that piece of information caused me to reflect on this particular piece in a wholly different way. How do, even in this sense of a darkness, because I actually still feel that there's a darkness in it, do you still find that maybe that blade of grass, that little piece of humor that gives you a lifeline to think that it's not just about destruction and decay and all of those things? And so it was a different type of collaboration, one that wasn't directly active with the artist herself, but through the body and the mind of George and her artwork. I feel as if we've lived in a collaboration that has been surprisingly fertile. I also want to point out in the room here, Bill, are you still in the space? So Bill Cameron, who's our third artist of this exhibition, his photography is featured downstairs in the entranceway to Wilson. Bill and I and my wife Emily first encountered each other at an ice cream social on the 4th of July when Bill came up to Emily and said, Emily, who was 2 weeks overdue with our first child, he said, hey, I'm a photographer and I take pictures of pregnant women. And we were like, okay, that's really wonderful to know. And, she's over 2 weeks overdue, so we're maybe not ready to do that right now. Of course, 2 hours later, we were in Bill's garage, and we did a 3-hour photo shoot with Bill, and he's now been with the company ever since. He's a close advisor, a board member, a dear friend, but he is also the archivist of Black Label Movement. And you'll see actually the image of Emily, me holding Emily up, which is the first image that came out of that photo shoot, is downstairs. So it's so exciting to feel this exhibition being rooted in that initial moment of collaboration just when Black Label Movement had essentially come to life. And so the work that we're doing here in bringing this exhibition together, because Emily and Deborah worked so closely together in terms of finding the pieces that made sense, exemplifies the trajectory of that 11 years that we've been going. But it also, it feels to me when I first walked in to see it, it feels like it gives a substance, or a materiality to the experience of being a choreographer, which quite frankly doesn't often happen because it's an ephemeral work. I make dances not to necessarily have them live on beyond memory. Even if they're videotaped, these videotapes to me are always pale shadows of what the real work is, because they lack three-dimensionality. But to be able to have these artifacts of that work, to me, gives a deeper root to the work. And so I'm so appreciative of Deborah and the university libraries for the chance to actually see that, because I hadn't seen the exhibition until literally yesterday, 2 days ago, for the first time. And so to see that come to life has been a gift. So I don't want to talk any more other than that. I'd be happy to field any questions as you all are wandering around. I do want you to know that there's a lot more artwork down on the first floor, and I really encourage you to go down and see that as well. So without further ado, oh, and please come to see the performance at the Ritz if you can this weekend. We have these guys. It's actually one of the most physical BLM shows we've ever put together, and so if you want your dance at a level of physicality, kind of at a competitive level with the Vikings, you will have a chance to see that. There's a performance tonight and all the way through Sunday. Great. Thank you so much.